All right, so this is the project you're going to do if you finish your color wheels or if you are in advanced high school art. And I want to apologize right now for the audio quality. It's not the best, but you should be able to follow along even if I cut in and out. All right, so you will need a piece of paper that is made for using paint or wet media. You will need watercolors, some water and a brush, a pencil, a ruler if you've got one. It's not the end of the world if you don't, and a rag or paper towel. So what you're going to want to do is we're going to make 3 different samplers of the complementary colors mixed. And if you recall, the complementary colors are opposites on the color wheel. So red and green, let me turn this around, red and green, orange and blue, yellow and purple. Those are opposites on the color wheel. They're called complementary colors. Okay? So I am going to use a ruler, and I want it to be 1-inch squares approximately. So, and I want 5 of them. I'm going to make it a little bit longer than that just to give myself space. So if you go out 6 inches and do 3 of those. Okay, and after you do all 3 of them, you're just going to divide it into fifths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, do that for all 3. All right, so mine aren't perfect, but it's okay because this is a study, not a work of art. We're doing a practice thing. So you're going to go from red to the opposite on the color wheel, which is green. And you're going to go from yellow to purple and from orange to blue. Okay, those are the complementary, color pairs. Okay, and you're going to make a gradient for each. So the way you do that, I just do it right on the paper, because if you have a watercolor palette, you don't want to get this part all messy unless you have a palette with lots of room. So I actually prefer to mix on the paper for things like this. And when you're using watercolor, you want your brush to be wet, and you just drop water into the well until it's wet. And when you lift your brush out, you see lots of color. So if there's any extra, you tap it off on the paper, and then just go ahead and paint red. As you can see, this brand, the red, is kind of a little bit bluish, but it is what it is, and that's okay. If you're using the Target brand watercolors, it's even more of a pink. But you can still do this project even if the colors are a little different. So then you go ahead and paint the next square with red. Oh, look, that's much richer, so I'm just going to spread that around. There we go. You paint the next square with red, rinse out your brush, and add a little bit of green. Just mix that in a little bit. Now, what you're going to get when you mix the complementary colors is mud. You're going to get a brownish color because you're mixing all of the colors of the rainbow, basically, if you think about it. Okay, not pretty. All right, middle one, lots of red, Lots and lots of green. Okay, there's that. Now I'm going to use just true green and go in over here. Want to make sure that you have a lot of saturation in your color. So you see a lot of color in it. Now I'm going to do green first here. Make sure it's dark, saturated, and then add a little bit of red into it. You might have to adjust. Like I had to wipe my brush off because it was too much red. All right, so right now it looks like a proper mess because it needs to dry. But when it does dry, it'll make more sense. Of course, right here I got too much water, but you'll be able to see the mix of the colors. It'll look better. So the yellow one is tricky. I want to do that next. You have to really, really make sure that your brush is clean. Get lots of color. If it's too watery, tap your brush out, get more paint. Okay, if it's too pastel, you got to get more paint. All right, second row here, second square. Lots of yellow. So yellow is much, much lighter than purple. All right, so what we want to make sure to do is only get a tiny bit of purple on our brush. Start small and then add a little. Okay. Spread it around. You don't want to spread it too much because this paper is not that great. Okay, the middle one is equal parts yellow and purple. I just accidentally put it in the blue and purple. Now, what happened right here is purple is a lot darker than yellow. So once I got a lot of purple on my brush, it totally erased, like the yellow's almost gone. So I have to get some more yellow and add it in there. There we go. All right. Now over here, we can do just purple. And right here, we can do the purple. And rinse the brush off completely. Grab yellow, put it on top. Again, looks like a mess. Looks much better once it dries. Okay? All right, so you're going to do that again with the orange to blue. So perfect amount of orange, orange with a little bit of blue, equal parts orange and blue, blue with a little bit of orange, and then just blue. All right, so you're going to do all three of those. After you complete all three of those, I'd like to challenge you to do a mix of any two colors in the same way. So I just turned my paper sideways because I like to use as much of the watercolor paper as I can because it's not as easy to replace. Okay, so any two colors. Okay, we're gonna do, let's say, what happens if I do red to black? Why not? Okay, this is all about experimenting. So I do true red over here. I'm gonna do some red right here. Now black is much darker than red, so I wanna make sure that I just grab a little bit of black and add it in there. Not a lot, okay? Now I'm gonna do equal parts. If this happens and it bugs you, just make sure that they're not touching, okay? I accidentally just got black in my red. There we go. All right. Now over here, I'm gonna do pure black. Look at that. Look how wet my paint is though. I'm not gouging out a lot of paint. I'm just making sure that the palette has a lot of water in it. Okay. it already grabbed the red and pulled it over, so it's pretty much done. So there I have it. Pure red, red with a little black, red and black equal parts, black with a little bit of red, pure black. All right, so you can actually do any two colors and see what kind of colors you can come up with. So as you can see, with just a watercolor palette of 8 colors, you have a wide variety of color options available to you. And the way that you figure out what they are is just by mixing colors, okay? So that is your project, Art 2, Advanced Art students, as well as any other art students who finish their color wheel early. All right. So go forth and make art.